Hello, my name is Tabs and welcome to episode 109 of the Grove podcast. Now, I hope you're doing well and got your podcasting kit on. I know I have, courtesy of the shorts delivered by She Wore the other year. So I'm wearing them and I'm feeling good. So anyway, thank you for being here. And in today's episode, we're doing another in our series of community casts where we meet members of the Arsenal online community and we speak to Arsenal fans that we all know from podcasts, from being online, from blogs and from the socials. Just a way to get to know each other, to get to know about them and their love for Arsenal and how they got going in what they do. And look, we've been really fortunate to speak with some really interesting and great Arsenal fans in the past, like North Banksy. Last week we had Ruth Beck from Ruth Beck Art on the pod. She Wore, Gooner Dave Seeger, Detroit Gooner, and the likes of Elliot Smith and Poz from the Arse Vision podcast. So you can find those in our back catalogue. They're always interesting to hear. To hear their Arsenal journey, their Arsenal story. And before we introduce today's guest, someone who liked the pod so much, he became a co-host. And we have Ian. How are you doing today? And have you bought your Madueke Goikarez jersey yet?
Hi Tabs, great to talk to you again. Really looking forward to today's episode. Yeah, I have the new jersey on and I've been waiting to see who's going to go on the back. So maybe if we can get Victor across the line, we can play him on the back. So we'll see. But yeah, really good. And yeah, so very excited about today's guest because we're very pleased to add to the list of names you just mentioned there. Because today we are joined by someone who is instantly recognisable in the Arsenal community. You will see her at every home game. In fact, you'll see her twice because she's on the side of the bloody stadium. It's only Amanda, aka Princess Gooner. Amanda, very welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you so much. I love that intro. Yes, twice. I'm on the mural. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me. I'm very much looking forward to talking to you both. And yeah, I'm good. Good. Nice sunny evening down in Essex. So it's lovely.
Nice. And have you done anything crazy today or have you just taken it easy? Have you been in work?
I work full time in a sales progressing job in an estate agent. There's nothing about taking it easy being a sales progressor. So It's hard work.
Yeah, no, it is. It is hard. Like a lot of people don't realise. A lot of people in the podcasting world and in the Arsenal world, they all work very hard full time and do all this on the side, as you well know. But before we get onto how you became an Arsenal fan, Amanda, we learn a little more about you. Where in the UK do you hail from? And outside of the Arsenal, what do you love to do? What do you like to do?
So I hail from. I call it Essex. Everyone argues because we're in the London borough of Highbury that we're in East London, but I hail from around this area. And yeah, I mean, we're not far from the Arsenal. We're 45 minutes. I used to live a lot closer. And sorry, what was the last part of the question? My brain
apart from the Arsenal, what do you love to do? Do you have any other passions?
Yeah, I mean, I love watching crappy soap programs. I love all the reality shows. I've got some good friends, social things. As I say, I work full time. I've got a lovely son who's at uni, family, and, just generally going out. I still enjoy that, even though I'm 56 this month.
Oh, well.
I'm still young at heart. I still love going out and doing things.
Yeah, no, fair play. Is Love Island in amongst the TV watching?
For my sins.
For your sins, yeah.
It's my guilty pleasure.
It's really popular, that program. Thankfully, I haven't. My hand hasn't been forced behind my back to watch it at any stage yet, but it's probably coming at some stage.
Well, there's an Arsenal connection this year, sort of, with Alessia Russo's brother.
That's right.
And I only learnt about that last night, and all of a sudden, he's become one of my favourites.
I wonder why.
I took interest in one series just to connect with my daughter. My daughter's 16, and we had a laugh watching it together one series, and then that was enough for me. And she also got sick of my commentary, which is far better than the guy who does it. So there we go.
Very
Yeah.
good.
Don't worry about Ian. You're not missing out on anything.
I'm not at all.
Very good, very good. So, how did you become an Arsenal fan, Amanda? You probably had no choice for considering where you're from, but how did you become an Arsenal fan, and kind of what got you into supporting them, and how long have you been supporting Arsenal?
So, as I said, I'm 56 this month, so I've supported Arsenal for nearly 56 years. My dad is the biggest Gooner on the planet. He is obsessed to the hill. Started going early 60s. My grandfather on my dad's side was a Chelsea fan. Took him Chelsea, Arsenal. He didn't want to support Chelsea. He wanted to support Arsenal.
Ooh.
Yeah, boo. I could have been a Chelsea fan.
Yeah.
And then that was it from early 60s. And I say this on a lot of podcasts I get asked on to. You really need to have my dad on because the stories is honestly, I've got so many funny stories and so many stories that occasionally he'll come on our podcast and tell me, and I don't even know.
Really?
But yeah, we were born Gooners. That's it. There was no choice. It's like when you're born a religion, you're born a male, born a female, you have no choice. And that was it. So yeah, we're all Gooners.
Yeah, well in the family. I sent a follow-up pod tabs with Princess Gooner and her dad on at the same time.
Well, isn't that King Gooner? King Gooner.
No. He is, but he's just honestly. I mean, I was saying this the other day that he literally walks around his area. It doesn't matter what weather it is. He'll have something Arsenal on. So if it's winter, it'll be the gloves, the hat, the scarf. If it's summer, he'll have a baseball cap on. He has to wear something Arsenal, and everyone knows him. Everyone knows him.
He's a great character.
Nice.
And had you chosen or Chelsea or anybody else, you probably would have been kicked out of the house. You wouldn't have been allowed anywhere near the house.
Growing up, it was so normal. So when I met people who had like a Spurs supporting father and an Arsenal son, I was so fascinated how that even happens
Yeah.
because it just wouldn't, and I don't agree with it. You just follow your dad. That's it. Whoever they support, unless they're Spurs, of course.
Yeah, it should be kept in the family. Yeah, like you're no stranger to podcasting. Like you are 1/3 of the very popular Same Old Arsenal podcast with Chris and Cooks. How did the pod come about, and how long has it been going on?
Okay, so I've been podcasting for quite a few years on different pods and things over the years. And then I left a pod I used to do with Kevin Campbell, bless him. And I gave it a break for 6 months. And then the owner of Same Old Arsenal approached me, which was Craig at the time, and said, you know what, let's do something. And I said, okay, but what? And he said, well, have your own show. I said, don't be ridiculous. I'm not going to have my own show. I can't host. I like guested. I can't host. And he was like, no, you can. So I thought about it and I spoke to a few people and they went, go for it. What have you got to lose? If you don't enjoy it, stop doing it. You don't get paid for it. And I was like, oh my God. So I started January, maybe 3 years ago.
Wow.
But it was Craig's channel. And then, he decided he wanted to move on and didn't want to have, the responsibility of it anymore. James and Chris had already been on the pod in different times with Craig anyway. I knew them both anyway, and I used to have them on the show, funny enough.
Yeah.
And then we all decided, he said, oh, I'm going to pass it to you. But I wasn't ready at the time to take the whole channel on. I work full time. I've got a busy life. But 6 months later, when he said it again, James and Chris were with me quite a bit. And we said, look, should we do it? So you've got a really good mix because they're both excellent at IT. I'm not. I'll come on the show, I'll press a button and, I'm always panicking that I can't end it properly. Chris is Suburban Gooner. He writes all his blogs. Every single day writes an Arsenal blog. I don't know how he does it. He does it every single day. Cooks works, well, I mean, we all work full time, but, Cooks brings a younger because he's in his 20s. So it's great to have a little bit of difference. Chris is in his 30s and I'm in my 50s. We're all match going fans. We all got season tickets, so we go to a match. We come home and we often do post game straight away, or if it's an away match and we're not there, we'll go live. And it just carried on like that. And I think it's a couple of years now. And the good thing about it is the reason why it works is there's no pressure.
Yeah.
No one wants to become this massive podcast where we don't scream and shout. We
Yeah.
don't do it for likes or clicks. We're not one of the biggest podcasts by far. We're not, but we just enjoy our community and what we've built. And we already had quite a few followers because of Craig's channel anyway, and new ones as well that have just enjoyed, and we just talk as we're talking now.
Yeah.
Most of the time we don't agree. Some of the times we do. We get the three of us are very pro Arteta. So in the chat room, we get a lot of, we do get people going, oh, you're just so very pro Arteta here, but we are, and that's
Yeah.
that. It's just our thoughts on it.
There's no harm in that, and I think it's a great way to look at the pods, because some people do start up podcasts, with the aim of getting the big followership, like huge followership, maybe monetizing it. But I think sometimes people, when they make that mistake, they're not natural. They're trying to force things. They're trying to be controversial, whatever it might be. And you guys just aren't that.
No, we're not. We we might earn about £2.50 a month, and I'm not joking. At times, we've had to pay for StreamYard out of our own money. We don't do it for that. And I
No.
think if we weren't full time, and if we could go full time on the pod, and we really wanted to do something like that, then that's the only way you're going to make money, which is what Arsenal Fan TV did,
Yeah.
which I was on at the very beginning before it all exploded into where it is now. But that we've got jobs and we've got lives and we've got families, and we just want to talk about the Arsenal.
Yeah.
That's it. Not every
It's
day.
Yeah, it's much better, I
Just
think, to have it as as a hobby rather than a livelihood. Like, unless there are people who do make a living, but I think it's important to enjoy it first and foremost.
I had a question around that, though, because since doing this, we've been going a year and a half or something like that. What do you say, 109 episodes? So 2 a week, whatever. Did it change the way you watched the game or you interacted with Arsenal? I don't want to use such a wanky word, but you know what I mean. Did it just change anything in terms of how you were as an Arsenal fan? Because I know now that maybe I'm a lot more sort of observant of things, or try and look things up, or try and do a bit more research about stuff or anything. Just 'cause I wanted to sort of be a bit more informed. If I'm going to say something, I want to give my opinion, but I also want to make sure it's an informed opinion rather than just spouting bullshit. I'm not saying if you don't do it, that's what. Don't get me wrong. I'm used to word salad here, but I'm saying, did it change anything, or did you still watch it in exactly the same way? You're not thinking about it. Okay.
No.
I thought that was going to be the answer.
Yeah, no. So, right, let me just put this in perspective. So, home games, absolutely not. I come out and I'm like, oh my God, what time did we score? Sometimes you've just got to know that. There have been times where I've named the wrong goal scorer that was first. It's just because I've come home and it's the next morning, and, but what I do is on away games, there are times where I'll watch an away game in the lounge and we come straight on, and I will write a few things because 69 minutes we had a substitute and it was Trossard. So I just don't want to get those sort of things wrong. But it doesn't, not really, because I'm not the facts person. I'm the passionate, opinionated. Chris has always got another screen up and he'll tell me, I'll go, what time did he score? We talk like that. We're not professional. We are match going fans. That's it. So we do it, and it seems to be enjoyed. And also we're live and visual. So there are times, and also, unfortunately, I'm menopausal, so I have brain fog. I can't tell you the amount of times I've sat on a podcast and gone, I don't know the word, what am I going to do? I can't think, I can see it, but I can't think. And I sort of have to divert, because I couldn't honestly, for the life of me, think of the word penalty box. How ridiculous is that? How ridiculous is that? But in the split second, I was going, where he takes the penalty, and my brain was so everything's live, nothing is edited, which I wish it was. So there's been many times that I've said things, but I always say on the podcast, I'm not a professional. I don't work in the media. Although I go on BBC Radio Live so many times in early mornings and do things, I don't change for anyone. That's it.
Good.
So how I'm talking to you is how I do on the podcast.
Yeah,
Good.
and it's place you'll be, and it's a great segue actually, because I was going to ask you that you appear on Radio 5 Live quite a bit, and like talk about nervous. You're like, how did that come about, and do you get nervous knowing that you're speaking to the nation basically on radio? Like how do you feel about that?
So I don't know how this came about. I think what happens is people follow me on Twitter or they'll watch the pods, and then I've got so many BBC contacts in my phone that I still get new ones like, oh, we're from BBC Radio 5 Newcastle or wherever. I was on Newcastle a couple of times. Do I get nervous? Hell yeah. I really do, because what they do is they put you on this, they put you in the studio, and it
Yeah,
could be 4 minutes until you're on. And my heart's racing because I go, right, do not say the wrong thing. You are live on radio. Do
yeah,
not get like Arteta's name wrong with, whatever it is. And
yeah,
also, it depends what game I'm discussing. It's always generally post, it's never pre. So
yeah.
I'm already wound up. I mean, I'll never forget the Newcastle with the Gabrielle on the back, and
Mm.
remember
Oh
all
yeah,
that. I was
yeah.
on, I think, the next morning with a Newcastle fan, and I lost my shit. Oh my God, I lost my shit. And I think from that, they love that. The fact
Yeah,
that I'm a woman as well, it's an extra different. You see, I
yeah,
can't even think of the word.
Yeah.
Different
It's a different
perspective,
dynamic. Yeah,
different
yeah,
dynamic. See
exactly.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So it's a different dynamic, and the fact that I do not. I don't shy away on radio. So I know I've got 2 minutes, probably not even that sometimes. And I've been on with City fans, and do you know what? They often want me to discuss women's football, but I don't know it well enough. So there's no way. If I wanted fame and fortune, I would take every single. I can't tell you the amount I turned down. Bizarrely,
yeah, yeah.
sometimes it's 6:40 in the morning on a Sunday, and I'm like, do you know what? Arsenal have lost. I can't. I just can't
Can't be
wake
arsed with
up.
that.
Yeah.
How close have you come to swearing live on radio?
I don't actually, because where you asked me the question about do you change for the podcast, I do change for the radio, because I'm very conscious this is not my community, this is not
Yeah,
my podcast with the boys. It's not like I get away with anything I want to say on that and everyone laughs. This is
yeah,
different, and as I'm representing Arsenal fans in that moment, I know it sounds weird, and I don't want that to come across as
No, no,
smug
but
or
you are. No, no,
you know what
no,
I'm
you're not.
saying? So I
Yeah, yeah,
really
yeah,
want
yeah.
to do a good job, and I
yeah,
always put it up live and say to people, "Tell me your opinions," because I'm very good at constructive criticism. Um, and generally, most people always say, "Oh, you've spoken exactly what I wanted you to say." Different
nice.
people have tweeted me, or Blue Sky, or whatever, and I'm proud of that, because I would never want fans to go, "What the hell have you just said? I can't believe you've said that." So I do have a few minutes generally. Well, I'll sit in my room, I'm on my own, and I go, right, you need to speak properly here, and you
Yeah,
need to think of the words that you want to say, because you don't get long. And if
no.
they interrupt the other fan and they talk and then it's run out, that's it. I can't come back.
Yes, yeah, no, fair play. Because it's a high pressure situation, and when you're going live, I've actually been in that situation in Ireland now, not about Arsenal. And when you go into that little holding room,
Yeah.
it is very, very nerve wracking. And so fair play to you for being able to keep it together. When I met you for the first time, Amanda, we met outside the stadium in front of your mural, and I remember speaking to you about Anfield 1989. Roughly 1.2 billion Arsenal fans claim that they were at Anfield in 1989, but you were actually there. What do you recall from that unbelievable day and night?
Wow. It's so nice to talk about this again, because Chris and James just take the piss out of me on the pod when it just gets mentioned occasionally. What I remember a lot, but not everything. So it was 1989 and I was nearly 20. I'm going to get this right, because the last podcast I said I was nearly 19 and 18. I wasn't. It was May. My birthday's this month, so I was nearly 20. I was a stroppy teenager. There were so many things that went on that week. We didn't have tickets to the week before. So,
Wow.
uh, so I had to go into my full-time job in London at that time in a solicitor's at the age of 20 and ask for Friday off. He said no. I said, I'll resign then. He said, what? You're going to resign over this? And I went, well, I live at home. I'll get another job. I didn't have a mortgage, and jobs were very easy in the profession I was in. I could have got one the next day, so I didn't care. I literally, honestly, I'll never forget this. I sat there and I went, okay, well, I resign because I'm going to Liverpool on Friday. He went, oh, just go. You get on my nerves. He was a West Ham fan. He was a bit older than me, probably about 25, 26. And he was my boss. And I went, yeah, okay, I'm going. Thanks. I was like this, like some people say I haven't changed, but it is me. And where we lived, my dad insisted we left at 10 a.m. Who leaves at 10 a.m. for an 8 o'clock kickoff in Liverpool when we're 4.5 hours away? Who does that? So, of course, Miss Amanda has to have a tantrum. I'm not getting up early. I want to make sure I look nice. We're not going to win anyway. So, if they do see any TV cameras, I was like this, like we're not, And how right was he?
Yeah,
Oh my God, how right.
you said what kind of man does that? What kind of person? I would say a very wise person.
Yeah. but now obviously I get it. But
Yeah.
at that time we didn't have mobile phones.
Yeah.
We didn't have Google Maps. We didn't have
No.
anything. My dad had his
No.
A to Z, and he used to watch, I think it was LWT, whatever it was, BBC One travel. That was it. We didn't have anything. And he knew about the M6 roadworks. And I was like, are you insane? We're going to be there at 2 o'clock. This is absolutely ridiculous. And I sat in the back of the car, I had a right strop. And 8 hours later, when we finally arrived, and we were the only Gooners there apart from Tom Watt, he looked at me and he went, don't ever doubt me. And I went, there's no one here but Scousers. There was no one. 6 o'clock. You think about that. We couldn't see any Arsenal fans about 4 or 5 o'clock. And I was like, wow. And then we got interviewed. We were going to be taken on the pitch. What amazing that would have been. But Liverpool said no. So it's the equivalent of ITV. Your viewers are a bit younger, but it changed from London Weekend Television. And they interviewed us as a family. There was me, my dad, my brother, my cousin, and Tom Watt from EastEnders. And we're interviewed. I mean, I'll never be able to see it, I suppose, because it was in different times. This was Sky. We'd have been viral around the world, but we were only on for like a few minutes, and there was just a news segment. It wasn't a big news thing. It really wasn't.
No.
And then I don't remember going in, if I'm honest. I don't remember going in. And when I was there, I remember looking, going, where is everyone? I was like this. I was like, oh, this is going to be delayed. We're going to be here all night. Considering the roadworks, in my head, I was going, this is going to take us hours to get home. Because in my head, we had no chance of winning. That was it.
You were already thinking of the homeward journey because
I was thinking this is going to be fun. I've never been to Anfield, never been to Liverpool in my life. We've got this far. Yeah, it was very different. I wasn't stressed. The stress came at 88 and a half minutes or 89 minutes. That's when the stress came, when it was actually in our grasp. And all of a sudden, I started holding my head going, this is unreal. But a couple of stories before that was they delayed it, obviously. But when Michael Thomas went through the first time and missed, I looked at my dad and I went, can we leave? Because I just don't want to get stuck. And I was like, I'm going out tomorrow. And I was all, 19-year-old stroppy teenager. And he looked at me and he went, you never leave a game early. I went, oh, for God's sake, it's going to take us about 7 hours to get home. We're not going to score, are we, Dad? He's just missed, for God's sake. And the rest is, I can tell you, I've had 2 occasions in my life, football life. That is the best. I can't see it ever being beaten unless we beat Spurs in the Champions League final in the last minutes. I can't see it being beaten. And I know people go, oh, you're living in the past, but that is the biggest history in Arsenal's world. It totally is. It's bigger than the Invincibles. It's bigger than everything, because to go away to Anfield, where it was a fortress for years, no one beats them 2-0. And the fact that when we got 2-0, the fact that we're then waiting for Liverpool to score because it's going to happen, and they didn't. There was just, it was the most mental moment of my life when we scored. And then everyone's going mental. What you see and the two boys you see stand up in the balcony part where the little barrier was are two friends of mine, and we grew up
Really?
together. Yeah. Russell and Brad. It's a famous clip from 1989. Two boys you'll see.
Yeah, you see them standing up. There's two
Absolutely.
particularly. Yeah,
But
yeah,
they've been from my area, so I've known them since I was about 14, so about 40 odd years. They still go. They sit below me. But that moment of being lifted in front by a bloke I don't even know, and then when the final whistle goes, I actually felt like I'd lost my family. I don't know where anyone. We went to the point of it was like a rush. It was like I actually went into shock. I actually
Yeah,
did go
I'd
into
say
shock.
so. Yeah, yeah. Like as you say, Liverpool hadn't been beaten 2-0. Like I think it
No.
was something like 2 or 3, 4 years or something since they were beaten 2-0 at Anfield. They were, the Man City, I suppose, of that era, and Anfield was just a kind of a forget about it to even get a win, let alone a 2-0 win. Yeah, and I remember when I spoke to you outside the stadium, you were saying that when you look back at the camera angle, you had a memory different to.
Yeah. Honestly, to this day, for my eyes, I was behind the net and I watched him come through. That is my memory, but we weren't. We were
Yeah,
to
you're in
the
the corner.
left of it.
Yeah.
So although the bar, probably the goalpost was in front of me there, I feel like I'm here and my brain's still that memory. And I have no idea why. It's probably maybe because I moved over slightly and I wasn't. Because when you look on the TV, Arsenal fans are not behind the goal. We're
No,
just
No,
to
they're
the
in the
side of it.
left-hand corner.
And I
that's right.
honestly, I still to this moment can see him coming through, thinking, oh, he'll probably miss this one, you know.
After
but
the last.
but it was the
He
most,
almost bloody hell. He
yeah,
left
no,
it to
I
the
mean,
last possible second.
oh my
Jesus.
God. And really, really wonderfully, on the podcast I was on, which I part owned years ago, we interviewed Stevie Nicol. So
Oh,
you
Oh
can
nice.
yes.
only imagine. I was like really quiet, and then I went, Stevie, can I just ask you a question?
He's the one he ricocheted off, doesn't he? He ricocheted
You
Yeah.
off
should have
Nickel
taken
before.
Thomas out. And I
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
said
yeah,
to
yeah.
him, why didn't you take Thomas out? And he looked at me and he went, I knew coming on an Arsenal podcast someone was going to ask me this. And he went, it was too fast. It all happened
Yeah,
so quickly. He said
Yeah.
yeah.
the minute he was gone. And I went, Steve, I can't believe I'm even talking to you because I was behind the goal and I keep like in the Anfield Road end. I said, and thank God you didn't take Michael Thomas out because I would never have had the best footballing night of my life. He
Yeah.
sort of booed me. It was quite funny.
I was on a flight recently. Actually, I think I was coming home from the Newcastle game, and Ray Houghton was sitting next to me, and I took everything I had not to say something about it. But yeah, it's just such an incredible night, and it's I know lots of people claim to have been there, but it's great to recount some memories from
Yeah,
somebody who
it's
actually was
really
there.
weird, isn't it, that people do that? Because I wasn't at 1994 when we won in Copenhagen. My father was. A really funny story. I couldn't afford to go. I wasn't working. I didn't have the money. And
Yeah.
then about 2 weeks before, I won 10 grand on Capital Gold, Capital
No
Radio.
way.
Yeah, the birthday
Wow.
bonanza. And he
Yeah,
said,
yeah,
what
yeah.
are you going to do with the money? I said, I'm going to go to Copenhagen, but I couldn't get a ticket. So that was that. I didn't go. And I would never sit here because no one would ever prove that I haven't gone. All my
Yeah.
family
No.
were there.
Well,
I just don't understand people that do that.
no.
Why? Why would you
Yeah.
say
Well,
Well,
you were somewhere and you're not?
I'm
yeah.
the opposite. I'd turned down a ticket, so there we go.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, what
Tabs.
at Anfield?
Yeah, I think I think I was a season ticket holder at the time, so I could have gone and there were tickets going around with my friendship group, and yeah, I just didn't think it was worth the effort.
Oh my
To be fair,
God.
nor did I. Even going
Uh,
up the M6, sitting in Moverts, I was like, what am I doing here? I could be out,
I didn't.
having a
Yeah,
good time.
I didn't.
I can't believe you've just dropped that bombshell, Tabs. I shouldn't
Yeah,
even be talking to you.
yeah, not one of the best decisions, and I didn't have someone, yeah, telling me don't be such an idiot.
Yeah,
But yeah,
get to think you never know. And
there
you
we go.
mentioned earlier on, Amanda, or we mentioned earlier on that you're on literally on the side of the stadium, like you're on the fans' mural. Tell us what does that mean to you, and how did that come about?
So I got asked to do a few things. So I think it came across because we had Stuart, the photographer, on the podcast. So I interviewed him twice. And I think that he really enjoyed it. and he realised that I wasn't one of these shouty, screamy. We just had a really good chat, and it was so fascinating.
Yeah.
On the first one, he got pulled to pieces in the media because he said something that was misconstrued, and that really annoyed me. Actually, quote properly, not
Yeah.
what you think he said. Second time he came on, I think then after that he didn't do podcasts, and I think what happened there was just people in the club realised that I was, a lifetime fan. So I had a contact. Either DM me or email me. All of a sudden, I got an email about different things that were going on. I was in the Saka t-shirt video. Not t-shirt, sorry, the jersey a couple of years ago, last year, I can't remember, a couple of
Yeah.
years ago. So I got asked to do a couple of bits, nothing major, nothing
Yeah.
major or anything. Then all of a sudden, I got an email from a guy that I'd go backwards and forwards with. I was in the I think the Invincibles book they asked me to write for. So I'm in that, just really honoured to do this stuff. Really, really honoured. And then what happened was I got this email and they said, we're going to do a collage of fans. They played it real down. Can you just send us a photo, but not one of you with Arsenal stuff on? It might go on the side of the stadium. Are you all right with that? And I was like, oh, that's exciting. I'm not going to tell anyone because obviously it's not going to come off. And
Yeah.
also, I don't know where I'm going to be. And is it going to be a tiny little thing? I had no idea. And then when the artwork started to go up, it was bit by bit. We were the last to go up. And they did an evening where I wasn't invited to it, actually, for the people that some were on the mural, probably bigger people than me at Arsenal. Ian Wright was there, Erdegaard was there, and I was like, oh, wow. And they showed this mural that big. It was nothing. It was just like a program size. And I zoomed in and I thought, well, where am I? I don't know. But the guy said to me on the email, he said, we've put you in a good place. Bloody hell, has he put me in a good place? I mean, I could have been anywhere. I'm on the front, under the Emirates centre. I mean, he just said, you're such a, a wonderful fan of the club and a big support. We're going to put you in a good place. So I'm looking on the top, the corners, because I'm not a big name. And he went, and I went, oh my God. So I saw it, but not on the wall. And then they did an unveiling. I walked around the ground because I sit in the East Stand Upper, and I walked around and I was like, oh my God. I cried. I could not believe it. It was that big that, and I mean, you could really tell the art was incredible because you could tell all the faces of, Clive from the Vision Pod was on it. There's loads of people, lots of famous, Martin Kemp's on it, Roman Get, loads of different, all scattered around. And I still see different people every time I look. But
Yeah.
honestly, every time I go to football, I have to walk past to see if I'm
Oh, well,
still there
yeah.
because I just think it's going to go.
Yeah.
Keep
And
pinching
it
yourself.
still takes my breath away. And then
Yeah.
my dad doesn't go to football anymore because he's not able to. And I took him on a summer's day when no one was there, and he welled up. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
He's been
Oh,
going
wow.
since 1960, right? Highbury, it took me when I was 4. And it was just a wonderful moment for him to have his daughter on the stadium. And the
Yeah.
weird thing is, it's going to be there forever. It's like before,
Mm.
when we're all gone, they'll be going, "Who's that girl? Who is she?" It's so weird.
Yeah.
But it's a massive honour.
Yeah, I can only imagine it's, and I'm actually not welling up, but close to it about you, that moment with your dad. He would have
Yeah,
been so proud of
yeah.
you standing there. I know that's a brilliant story and well deserved. I think. I mean, you are a fantastic fan of the club, so
Thank you.
so well deserved. Before I pass you on to Tabs, I've one last question, and for as long as you feel comfortable, talk to us about Kevin Campbell. You had a very special bond with the late great Kevin Campbell. Just take again, as long as you're comfortable, to tell us what Kevin meant to you and what it was like working with him and having him involved in your life.
So I met Kevin when I was 16 at a junior gunners party, and we've got a picture. But
No way.
it wasn't my friend or anything. It was just a player, and I've got a couple of old pictures. Thank God I've still got them, and they're on my phone. And then, I don't know, 40 years later, we're on social media. I think he realised I knew what I was talking about. We connected. We got on brilliant. I loved how he was on social media. People were starting to realise who he was and what he could bring. I think then, it's so blurred, but I think then I asked him to come on a podcast. We did a couple together, but then when I was on a podcast called the Highbury Squad that I part-owned with Sophie, I said, I'm bringing Kevin on. He said, brilliant, bring him on. And he never left. And the fun we had, he was 6 months younger than me. We just were like brother and sister, really. We would laugh, just take the piss out of each other. And that's where my name PG comes from, because obviously Princess Gooner on Twitter, but he called me PG. So even now I will call myself that for him, because that was his name for me. And we spent so long, honestly, laughing, taking the piss out of each other. So obviously, if Arsenal, because he lived in Manchester at the time, and Arsenal played United or at the Etihad, I'd go up, we'd have dinner together. I met one of his close friends, John. He called him Red Nose John because he was a Liverpool fan. So John and I are very close friends as well. And what did he bring? He was the most wonderful human. What you saw is what you got. There was no difference. When I was out, I watched in awe. The restaurant managers came up to him. Anyone come up to him, it was never a problem. Never a problem. He was the same. Because, off camera, people can be very different. He wasn't. A wonderful man, a wonderful human, and sorely missed. Absolutely. I mean, devastated. I left the podcast. He stayed. We still kept very close friends. And then he came to Arsenal, came to the Emirates once. And he literally, he had hospitality. And I was 10 minutes away. I said, oh, for God's sake, Kevin, you just got, hold on, wait. He said, I've got to go in. I said, Kevin, I'll be 10 minutes. So I was running over the bridge, trying to get to him at the clock end where he was going in. And that was the last time I saw him, was about a year before I think he died. And I remember I'd heard that he wasn't well in the January. And obviously I was keeping close tabs and I was getting updated, but I'm not announcing anything. It's between. Then when he came out, I messaged him and we were messaging backwards and forwards, and I'll keep those messages forever.
Yeah.
And I said to him about May time, you well enough to come to the Arsenal? I think we were playing in Manchester or whatever it was. He said, no, PG, I'm not well enough, but we're going to do it. And we'd always send emojis to each other and stuff like that. A wonderful human being. He really was. And I loved him. He used to go PG. And one of my lovely stories, the funniest thing, and I always do this, when we played Everton, he loved Everton nearly as much as he loved Arsenal.
Really, yes.
Because he was born a Gooner and he played for Arsenal, it just takes the edge. But he absolutely idolises Everton. And the fans idolise him the way we do. And I used to go on social media and say when Arsenal beat Everton, and he'd go, shh, PG, like this, because he would never do it. He never wanted to celebrate, but he was a Gooner at heart. So we used to, we're just fun. It was just fun. And, sometimes I think about him and I think, I wonder what he's thinking about, because I would have spoken to him about, Saka's injury, Havertz. I'd have said to him what we're going to do. And he was always very positive, and he was always like me, pro Arteta as well.
Yeah, nice. And look, such a wonderful tribute. It's wonderful to hear that he was the same person, behind the camera as in front of it. Like, as you say, really, really sorely missed. And you're very lucky to have had him in your life like that. And
I'll tell you one thing he did do. So obviously I was on the same old Arsenal podcast. My dad was coming on, but my dad had technical difficulties because he's like, he can't use anything. So Kev said, I can stay for 10 minutes. I want to surprise your dad. He stayed the whole show. He stayed the whole show. And it's not his show and it's not his podcast. And he did that for me. I'll never forget that, because he loved my dad. My dad loved him, and we used to have fun. And I've got that picture of the three of us, from YouTube and on it. And the fact that I did have that chance to have him on our podcast. And it was just, nothing was too much trouble for I called him Casey.
You're Casey. And a wonderful tribute and lovely words. Sorely missed. I'm going to pass you back over to Tabs. Thanks so much for all that, Amanda. Tabs, over to you.
No, yeah, thank you. That's yeah, it's quite emotional hearing that, and
Yeah.
it's wonderful to hear, and thank you for sharing like that, because it's not always easy. So thank you for that. Anyway, so moving on, we want to sort of find out more about how, but your experiences with Arsenal and things like that. And so like, can you remember what was the first game you watched about Arsenal on TV and then live in person?
I'm so sorry, but I can't. I haven't got a clue. And it really pisses me off that I don't know, because a lot of people ask me this and I don't know. I was 4 years old and put over
Oh,
the
okay.
turnstile. I sat on my dad's lap. No idea. I don't know at 4 years old. He can't remember either. We try and work back to 1972. I think that was when I was 4 years old. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
We can't. My first memory, it was very different. We didn't have so much live TV, but my first memories are like Malcolm McDonald and Chippy Brady and Don Howe, Terry Neal, and all that sort of time. But I can't. But I know my first final that I watched was Ipswich in 1978, and I cried because I had to
Yeah.
go
Oh,
to
so
school
not
the next day.
79. Everyone says 79. So it's good that we have something different.
78 we cried.
Yeah,
79
I
we
know.
celebrated. 80 we
Well, of
cried.
course. Yeah,
So
of course. Oh, okay. Were you there at 78, or you just remember
no.
watching it on TV?
No.
Just watching.
So 70, all of those,
Yeah.
my first live final was 87.
Okay.
But my dad was there for all of
Yeah.
them. And
Yeah.
my dad then in 1979, when we won, was dancing with the players at the Hilton. I think it's the Hilton, he'll correct me if I'm wrong, in London. How did he even get into that? I think he knew someone who knew Brian Talbot or something. And my mum, who is not into football, ended up dancing with players. I mean, please, we'd only pray for that now, wouldn't we? But yeah, no, I wasn't there. I was watching it. I remember sitting in the lounge with my cousins waving a little flag.
Yeah, very good. Okay, and so hopefully then you can remember this. What is your best memory your best Arsenal memory, other than 89? So
Yeah,
let's
see,
let's,
that's
let's
the
say
thing.
89 is a given, and we've heard all about that. Other than 89, what was one of your best Arsenal memories?
It's hard because there's a lot. So let's go to 87, my first ever live final at Wembley. We even beat Liverpool. I mean, it's hilarious, isn't it? That, Ian Rush's record was broken. Charlie
Yeah.
Nicholas, who I had a little crush on, was there, scoring. I was on the steps. I had the best seat ever, which I've ever had. Never again at Wembley will I ever get a good seat like that. Charlie Nicholas runs around Wembley with my hat and scarf on, plays. Well, I mean, so that was incredible because that's your first ever final, and it's massive to go to a final anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
God, Ray Parlour at Cardiff, when Tim says it's only Ray Parlour. Do you know how many times I've seen Ray? Because we don't live far. He doesn't live far from where I work, and it's hilarious because when I'm if you're young, you haven't got a clue what I'm saying because I'll go, it's only Ray Parlour, and they'll look at me and go, yeah, it's Ray Parlour. No.
They don't get the
Only
reference.
Ray
You know what's
Parlour.
a funny story about that though? I was on the Chase on ITV, and I was in the green room, and Bradley Walsh walked past me, and I shouted to him, "It's only Ray Parlour." He carried on walking. I was so embarrassed. When you're embarrassed because you're realising that it's not gone how you imagined.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
got to the door, the double doors, and he looked back and he said, "Sorry, what did you say?" I said, "It's only Ray Parlour." And he came up to me and he went, "Why have you said that to me?" I said, "You know why I've said that to you. I was behind the goal that day in Cardiff." Well, we didn't stop talking because then I was like a reserve on the Chase, and then I got on the Chase and I was rubbish on
Oh,
it
nice.
anyway. But he was completely like wanting me to win because he found out obviously I was at Cardiff. I'm a massive Gooner. But that minute when they're walking off and you're thinking that hasn't gone down well, everyone's looking at me going, "What's she talking about?" Because it wasn't football at ITV Studios, it was about the
No.
Chase. So
Yeah.
there's
He
lots of
used to
memories.
be.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, then he used to be. He sort of was he was a pro. He tried. I think he had trials at Brentford. He might have played for
Brentford.
Brentford.
Yeah.
Brentford. Well, he was part of that
But
setup, but didn't
honestly,
quite
when I
make it.
worked in
Yeah,
Loughton in Essex,
yeah,
which is not far from where he lived, and he came round every day I wanted to run out and go, "It's only Ray Parlour." I just missed him. I was either on the phone or I didn't see him or something happened. But honestly, things like that. Right, so I went to the Champions League final, which obviously is the first European and the last European I've ever been to. So that obviously is one of the worst, but it was a good day. Obviously beating Spurs at Spurs for the wonderful 2004. You've got great memories of things,
yeah,
but obviously I think if you come right up to now, it has to be the Real Madrid match with Declan Rice. I mean, when you fast forward to that, I've been at the Emirates since day one. I have never felt the ground go like that. Apart from Henry when he scored against Leeds in the
Yeah.
cup, that was spine tingling. This was different. This was a noise I've never heard before. And I went into shock because where Declan took the free kick from is in my eye line. I'm in the East Stand upper, he was right in front of me. And I honestly, this is how much I know about football. I said to my neighbour, why is he taking a free kick? You know, we don't score from free kicks. And she went, I don't know why. I said, this is a bit odd. Why is he taking it? Well, I mean,
I think everyone was saying, you know,
I
even the set
vocal.
piece coach, even the set piece coach wanted him to cross him.
Yeah.
Cross
Do you
it.
know,
So,
do you know what was funny though?
yeah.
To do it once is incredible. To do it twice, it will probably never happen again. So if you
No.
bring it right up to now, that is my favourite moment of years gone by, because
Nice.
I went to that match hoping for a 0-0 and maybe get a chance at the Bernabeu. Never in a million years did I think I'd be walking out at 4-0. Never, never. So all the other goals after was even great. We had the best night. It was
Yeah.
because it was so unexpected as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed.
Incredible.
Actually, do you go to away games at all, or
Yes. So in the
in Europe
80s,
or at home?
no, Europe's the only one I've ever done was 2006. I'm too nervous of the police. Honestly, I'm just the police in the away games in Europe frighten the life out of me. But in the 80s, I travelled a lot more when I was younger. Then I stopped for many, 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 many years. And then early 40s, I got divorced. And then I was like free. I could go and do what I wanted. I used to travel to Liverpool, Manchester, Etihad, Old Trafford, Anfield. Never been to Everton. I used to have weekends away. Oh, I loved it because I've got lots of United, City, and Liverpool friends. So 9 times out of 10, we never won. But saying this, the first time I ever went was the Etihad, and I sat in a box because my friend had a box at City, and I walked in. There's no chance we're going to win, is there? There's just no. So we walk in. My City mates are all cocky, completely cocky. I said, "What do you think the score?" "Oh, we'll easily do you 3-0." And I was like, "I'll take a draw now," but. But I don't talk like that. Even if I think we're going to beat somebody, I just don't talk like that. They're just so cocky, City fans. So we sit around the table, then we go outside, and then obviously, was it 1-0 at half time? I think they were running towards us. The steward had said to me, "You're Arsenal, you are not allowed to celebrate. You have to go back in the box." I went, "Don't worry, I won't be celebrating." I was like this. I was like, "Don't worry about that." Company takes out Monreal. I'm up screaming penalty. The whole of the Etihad, this stand behind me, opposite the away fans, I don't know what it's called, were looking at me because I was that close because I was in the box seat. Everyone around me is looking at me and I went, "Oh no, it's never a penalty. I don't know. That's never." I didn't know what to do because I thought I was going to be chucked out. He scores. I go running in the box because Henry was commentating like round the corner bar. I'm like running in the box going mental, thinking, how have we even got a goal? I can't believe we're running up. Coming at half time, they still were not worried. They said, "We'll beat you 2-1, not a problem." They really meant it. I went, "I'll take a draw. I'm happy because I know Arsenal. I know what's going to happen." Again, the steward came round and said, "You were very lucky you caused a lot of trouble below you." I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm really sorry." It was just thinking, obviously, it's not going to happen again. And then when Giroud scored in the last minutes, I couldn't care less. I was I couldn't care because City fans started to leave. I was up singing the Giroud song because obviously Arsenal were right opposite me in the other part of the stadium, and didn't care if I got chucked out. Then it was the last minute anyway. I couldn't care less, and I was singing. And the City, I said to him, "You are so cocky. The fact that you thought I couldn't believe we'd beaten the top 4 side away." I think it was my first time. It was just the funniest. And then
Brilliant.
a family next to me put their thumbs up, and I think it was Sanya's family. And then when I'm walking out, my mate went, "There's Patrick Vieira." So I went up to him and I said, "When you're coming home?" And he gave me the biggest, filthiest look ever. He wasn't even friendly. I said, "When are you
Really?
coming home?" No, he wasn't. He looked at me in such disgust. I was like, "Oh, Patrick, we still love you."
Brilliant memories. Brilliant. But so moving on to the opposite of that, what's your worst Arsenal memory?
I suppose really the 2006 Champions League final. We were so distraught that they sent off Lehmann because
Yeah.
it ruined the game. So we're all hyped. Champions League final. When are we ever going to get, like, as proven we've not, and you're like sitting there going, well, that's the game done then, isn't it? Because then we were gutted. He took Perez off because you don't want Perez going off, but then he had to bring on a goalkeeper. Oh, it was just, honestly, it was really, really upsetting. But unfortunately, I've had a lot of I could list 50, I would say, that if you had the time of memories where I'm just 4-4 at Newcastle when you're 4-0 up. I mean, that is just, and listening on the radio was the most stressful thing. Then I thought we were going to lose it 5-4 anyway.
I was at that game.
Oh,
Excuse me. I don't go to many away games, but I was at that one.
Oh God.
Horrible.
There's lots. I cried when Seaman let in Paul Gascoigne's goal in the semi-final at Wembley. I was there, and coming home, a lot of my friends are Tottenham. Someone drove around with a cockerel on their car. I mean, I was young at the time in the 90s when there's so many, unfortunately, upsetting, even upset Newcastle when they jumped on Gabriel's back and the ball was off and he was offside. There were so many things. Being an Arsenal fan,
any defeat then.
Yeah, like there's just lots of things.
Yeah. Talking of that Paul Gascoigne semi-final, because we know which one it is. I was actually in the Tottenham end for that game.
Oh my God!
I got a ticket. I said, "Bro, I got a ticket to the semi-final." It ended up being the Tottenham end. So do you still want to go or not? And then there were people outside who were Tottenham fans who were in tickets in the Arsenal end. And did we want to risk changing tickets? And then it was back in the day, it was all paper stuff, and you don't know whether it was a fake, and then you don't get in, and what not. I think in hindsight, well, I mean, in a way, it was a good job we lost, because I think the Tottenham fans around us knew we were Arsenal fans. As much as we sat on our hands, they knew we were Arsenal fans, and they sort of just gave us those dirty looks.
Yeah,
and then laughed. And we were right in front of Gascoigne, giving it all the, with the faux drinking and whatever. So
again, he was in my line when he took that, and I just watched it go like that. I just literally went, "Oh my God!" I was like, "What was Seaman doing?" I was blaming everybody. It was just upsetting because it's Tottenham, and then the year later, the donkey won the derby, so we sort of got around back.
And indeed. So talking of players and stuff like that, who's your favourite Arsenal player currently, and why?
Oh, currently, okay, probably Declan. I would say. It's very hard because I absolutely adore Odegaard and Saka. So I do this on every pod when I'm asked this. I go Declan, Odegaard, Saka. Then I love Gabriel. It's very hard. Then obviously Skelly's come right through and just incredible talent and fantastic for us. It's very hard, but if I had to pick one, it would be between Declan and Odegaard. But then Saka, see what I mean? I can't. It's just too hard.
They're like your children. You can't have a favourite.
Yeah, exactly.
And we are fortunate that we're going through a period now where all of them are all likable, and there isn't one that stands out as a complete twat like we've had in the past, and they're all likable for various reasons and stuff like that. So I think we've got it's a tough choice to make, and there's no wrong answer. So then who's your favourite Arsenal player of all time then?
It's Ian Wright. I love Wrighty. I've met him a few times, and he's exactly the same. He's a loon, and I bloody love him. I've interviewed him as well, which not on a podcast. Have we been on a pod? I can't remember if we've been on a pod, but I've interviewed him on the red carpet, the 89 Premier. Listen to me. I was doing Arsenal Fan TV at the time, so I got interviewed, and he literally walked up and went, "Princess Gooner." I said, "What did you say?" Like he knew me. It was so, I was like freaking out. So Ian Wright for me.
Nice.
Good choice.
Okay, over to you, Ian, to bring it home.
A few questions left, Amanda. Match day. Think of your match day. Do you have any routines? Do you have any superstitions? Like, for any particular bars that you go to, or What do you get up to on match days?
Okay, so no, I'm not a drinker. I don't go to I used to in my 40s. I used to go to like the Tolly or the 12 pins. Is it 12 or 11 pins? I never know. 12
12.
pins,
Well,
yeah.
yeah,
I used to meet a lot of people on social media. It was fantastic. But then I got married, and then we both. He's got a season ticket next to me because my cousin. We've got. We go with my cousin and my husband, and we normally go if it's like an early kickoff. No, nothing really. We'll just go straight to the ground. But if it's 3 o'clock, we generally go and eat in a cafe, have a wander around the stadium, try and
yeah,
catch up with a few people. But we're not drinkers, so we don't
yeah.
do the normal thing that a lot of fans do. And yeah, superstitions. No, I don't have any, and I'll tell you why. Because if I did, it would drive me insane. Because then
Yeah,
I'd
that's
have
the
to do
problem.
it
That's the
every single
problem. Yeah,
game. Yeah,
if something happened to your lucky socks or something, you'd be going
yeah.
crazy.
I'll be freaking out. It'll be all my
Yeah.
fault. All my fault that we lost.
And how do you feel like the current Arsenal team as it is now? And Tabs just said like it's so likable, it's so talented. Like how do you feel about it in general? Do you feel connected to it? What are your thoughts on the current squad?
I feel more connected than I've ever done in the last few
Mm.
years. That's Mikel Arteta for you. I
Yeah,
love Mikel. I'm a very
Mhm.
pro Mikel. I've been since day one. Even when he doesn't bring subs on when you think he should, he knows what he's doing. And,
yeah,
we all moan, don't we? We'll say, why hasn't he brought him on? Why has he done that? We don't know what goes on behind the scenes. We don't know who's fit, who's not, who's carrying a knock. So I'm very much pro Arteta. I feel like that he loves us. He
mm.
absolutely loves us and he appreciates us. Well, that's it. That's the connection you need, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
He listened to fans because we wanted a song, which we've got North London Forever, which I adore. We needed something, to that is Arsenal. I think he's wonderful. I do.
yeah.
I love him,
I
and I don't
agree.
want him to leave us.
Yeah,
I love everything about him, and obviously watching the Amazon thing. I think a lot of people, apart from the little radio thing with the Liverpool thing, which was a
yeah.
bit
That was crazy.
strange,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
have to
yeah.
say.
That
I think
was.
you saw what a man he is, and what I love is he's a winner. He is a winner.
Yeah,
Look
yeah.
what he's doing at the moment. We knew this summer was going to be very different. And I tweeted today actually saying, does anyone feel like it's the Wenger era where all of a sudden Wenger brought in 5 players? I'd never heard of half of them, didn't even know they were. Emmanuel Petit, Patrick Vieira. We didn't know these players. I didn't. And I think that this is what's going on now. I think that unfortunately last summer we missed the boat. January was a problem. I don't think he envisaged 73,000 injuries, and you
Mm,
can't
yeah.
deal with that.
You
And
can't
to come
operate on that. No.
second and to get a semi-final with those injuries, with Mikel Merino up front,
Mm.
he should be lauded.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Absolutely
incredible. Yeah,
lauded.
yeah.
I know it
I
was a
don't.
shame we didn't get a striker in January, but it's not just so easy to buy a striker in the
Mm.
winter transfer window. It was gutting. Would we have taken Watkins? I think we would have taken me at that point, just to have someone up front. But I
Yeah,
think this is exciting. We just need to keep everyone fit.
yeah,
Mm.
and
But
it's funny you mention Wenger there because I was kind of devastated when Wenger left. Now, while still recognizing that maybe his time is up, but I think we're very lucky to have somebody who loves Arsenal as much
Mm.
as Arsene Wenger did. I think that's a very valid point. Yeah, yeah. I love Arteta as well. Like I just
it,
don't understand people giving out about him, like where he's taken us from to now, and as you say, with the injuries and everything else, the season we just had, like by rights, we should have finished outside the Champions League spots. Like,
Absolutely. I think it's for clicks and likes.
yeah, oh,
yeah.
100% it
I think
is. Yeah,
people
Well,
do things just. I read sometimes and I laugh and I go, You obviously don't get football."
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
no, I mean, we're part of, well, I'm part of a sort of large WhatsApp group, yeah, where the Grove all started from and all the rest of it. And there are actually sort of Arteta dissenters out there. And it tends to be maybe because the expectations are so high. So that's down to what they want. No, I'm all behind Arteta. I'm 100% Arteta. And a bit like you were saying, we sort of started off and we had various people on, but it wasn't sort of ending up being the voice that we wanted to project, sort of thing. But no, there are people out there. So with that in mind, how long would you, as much as you love him, how long would you give him without a trophy? And I'm
I
talking a
know.
proper trophy.
Well, any trophy is a proper trophy. You know that.
Love
Oh
it.
no,
Love it.
I'm quite happy. I wish I would quite
Any
happily sack off
trophy.
I'd quite happily sack off the Carabao Cup if it was
Oh
down
no,
to
I
me.
would take that right now. Any cup. I don't know. Listen, he's doing everything right now, what we need. Please God, we
Yeah.
get Gyökeres. I think I've said that name right. I often say
Yep.
names wrong.
I just say Victor, easier.
Let's say Victor. Let's say Victor. Nordegaard's come in. We've got Zubamendi.
Yeah.
It's going to be exciting, isn't it? Declan will be more free up front. It's just, I think, I don't know. I don't work on, well, if he doesn't get a trophy by next season, he's out. Because I'm a child of the 80s, and I watched Alex Ferguson year after year do pants. And if they'd have got rid of him, that's all I'm going to say. So
It was Robinson just saved his bacon in a cup game. I think it was
Mark
against Bristol
Robbins.
City.
Yeah.
Mark Robbins, who,
yeah,
in the late in the day. Yeah, so I'm like you. I grew up watching Arsenal in the 80s and 90s and stuff, so I've experienced some really, really good stuff, some real dross as well.
I think from
And my need for trophies isn't quite the same as
exactly.
a lot of younger people who are like desperate to I've lived through the Invincibles. I've lived through other stuff. So I'm fortunate. I'm not saying everyone has, and that's why my expectations and what I want from football is very different to maybe some people who are younger or different like that. And that's maybe the impatience is there.
It is. And also sometimes, last season wasn't great. We know that. The season before, I absolutely loved the journey. I fabulously loved the whole season. I used to say to people, enjoy it, because this, you may not see a season like this again with this wonderful football and stuff. And last season it wasn't as good. And we know that. And there was many factors why it wasn't. This season is very exciting now, because all of a sudden we are clearing out and we're bringing in, and now it's going to be not the same old Arsenal. Not that I'm advertising the podcast, but it's the same old Arsenal.
Yeah, and you know what? Again, lovely little segue into my next question. It seems as though we're plugging a lot of gaps in the squad, and we've done a lot of business already. And I know earlier on you said that you're not, too pushed on the whole transfer rumor mill, and I agree with you, because it just becomes crazy.
Boring.
But from it is but from here in, what would your dream rest of transfer window be? Do you have anybody in mind, or is it just positions you'd love to get kind of filled up?
I'd love cover for Saka. I'd love Eze and Gyökeres, and we can shut the door and I'll be very happy. I've always loved Eze. I think what a great player, and he's a massive Arsenal fan, I think, as well. You want players like that. Like Gyökeres looks like he just desperately wants to come to us by what we're reading. You want players like that. Sesko, I don't know what happened there, because that was rumoured, big rumours, but you never know. And I do think that there's going to be a little surprise. I don't know why. I've just got this feeling that someone we've not mentioned, that no one's even spoken about, will happen, because we said on our podcast, I think we needed like 6 or 7 players to come in. Cooks was like really raging about that, and I'm like, I don't think we're going to get 6 or 7, but at the moment we've got Kepa coming in, which is really good. I quite like this Norgard, is it?
Norgard,
yeah. And I don't mind players that are on 10, 15 million and not 100 million, because they give us good as well. I remember Arteta coming into the team. I was really, excited to see him. He wasn't a legend. He absolutely wasn't. He wasn't Thierry Henry, but he gave his all. And just sometimes you need players like that, because to dig us out on a cold night in Grimsby, as they used to say, that's what you need. And it's exciting, because all of a sudden the whole transfer window is about us, and it's never like that. And Tottenham, I haven't even heard about Tottenham. It's quite funny, really.
So you think a little surprise signing? So basically, guys, you heard it here first. Arsenal are going to sign Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Amanda said it. She said it out loud. I heard her.
Do you know what's funny? People think I'm in the know and they ask me questions. I'm less in the know more than anybody. I don't know anything. I find out when my dad goes, "Oh, we've just signed Gyökeres," or whatever. I don't know anything. I promise you that. But I've just got a feeling that there are times that Arsenal do things that we don't know about.
Yeah. Fair play. And with all that in mind, like, what do you think, if we get all our targets and so on, what do you think we're capable of next season? What are your hopes and dreams?
Well, I was asked on another podcast if I wanted the Premier League or the Champions League. I did not hesitate in 1 second. Champions League. I have seen everything. the little, I call it the Littlewoods Cup, the Milk Cup,
Yeah, it
whatever you
was.
want to call it, the FA Cup. I've seen it all. I've been at all the finals. You know, we won the league, the Invincible, everything, but we have never won the Champions League. And until we win that, I want to stop hearing that song.
Yeah.
Champions League, you'll never sing that. And I just want one, and then I can go away happy into my 60s and know that I've seen everything there is to win. We came close, but obviously, as I said, Lehman got sent off that night, and I think we need and we deserve. We came so close. But PSG ripped us a new one eventually.
Yeah.
So
They did, yeah. I think to get that monkey off our back, we do really desperately need to get a Champions League. And I think if you were to ask Mikel, like obviously he'd love to win the Premier League. If you were to give him a choice, I think he'd pick the Champions League because he knows how much of a gap that is for the club. Now again, it'd be very very close, but I maybe do the double. We'll just.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Most people say the Premier
lot.
League, funny enough. Most people don't agree with me. They say the Premier League because that's the one to win. But I would take second in the Premier League, winning the Champions League. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And then win the Premier League 5 seasons in a row after that, of course. Yeah.
Of course. Of course.
I have one more very important question, Amanda. It's the most important question of the whole night. What do you think of Tottenham?
The same thing that you do. Shit.
Absolutely love it. Okay. Amanda, again, from my perspective, thank you so much for taking the time out. It's been an absolute pleasure, and it's great hearing these stories of Anfield and of Kevin, and all the shenanigans that went on up in the Etihad. So thank you so much. I'm going to pass it back on to Tabs to finish us out, but thank you.
Yeah, no, look. Thank you. That's been very, very good. Great fun. Really enjoyed listening to everything you've had to say, all the stories and so on. I think your dad sounds like a bit of a star, so we'll need to get his email address. So thank you. So look, where, if people don't know, if people are hearing about you for the first time, where can people find you on the socials? Not where do you live? Your podcast or your Twitter handle. Let people know how they can hear more from Amanda, from PG, from Princess Gooner.
So Same Old Arsenal Podcast is on YouTube and all the podcast channels, Apple and all that. What am I? I'm Gooner Girl 1969 everywhere. So Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, Twitter. I know Twitter's a little bit of a cesspit. However, I still enjoy the football part of it and try and stay out the rest. But yes, come and say hello, and this is a really lovely podcast. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for having me on.
No, it's our pleasure, and we love having the likes of you on board and hearing all your stories. And as I said at the beginning of the show, we try and sort of meet other Arsenal fans.
It's great, isn't it?
Yeah, some well known, some not so well known, just to hear all about them. And it's great. If you want to hear more of those, then go and check out our back catalogue. It's there's some interesting stories in there, and it's a lovely community, and it's great to hear these stories. We have something in common, but then you always hear something new and different.
Of course,
different every day, every time we do this, and hopefully we've got a few more lined up. We're trying to line a few more up, so we'll keep those under wraps for now because they don't tend to get sorted until like very last minute. But we'll see. And look, if you want to hear more about from the Grove podcast, you can follow us on Threads and Blue Sky at the Grove AFC, and check out our back catalogue, and there we go. So thank you, Ian, for your co-hosting duties, and again thank you, Amanda, for coming on. It's been a real pleasure, and there we go. So
thank you.
All that leaves me to say is that I'm on holiday next week. Woohoo! And so we might be off air for a week, but I'm sure we'll have something when I get back. And until the next time, come on, you Gooners.